Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week of Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about the first steps to getting really healthy, the level of problem you can tackle once your health is no longer a problem, and the dating rituals of magical Mondays and wonderful Wednesdays. But before we get into it, Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
Oh, this week we headed to Melbourne for a couple of days. I had a quarterly planning meeting as part of my career and business. Not our business.
No, not
you're
our
in my
business.
business, the business that I work in. And it was really nice to take the day to get realigned and look at the horizon for what's coming up in the next quarter. But also I just felt super grateful that I was able to get on a plane and go to Melbourne and do that in person, because last year, obviously, a lot of that time we weren't able to do that without facing quarantine and that sort of stuff. So I think it really fueled me up and got me focused on both career and business stuff. But we also got to see some friends, which was awesome. And really just, I feel like I appreciate it even more.
That was going to be my fuel up for the week too. So
what was your fuel up, Nate?
So mine was also being able to jump on a plane and head down to Melbourne for the weekend. So like Sammy said, it was really amazing to catch up with some friends, and as part of our normal dating practice. So we go by this 2x2x2 dating practice, which we've spoken about in a few other episodes, but essentially it's a date every 2 weeks, a weekend away every 2 months, and then every 2 years go on a larger holiday. That's the premise of it. And so obviously with COVID and everything like that, it's been a little bit challenging to do the weekends away. So
our last one was in December.
Yeah, it was. So it was really nice to kind of be able to pick up that rhythm a little bit more and go away for a weekend and do some really fun stuff together and reconnect together outside of our own place.
Yeah, and there was also a bit of a bonus because we got to see a mate for his birthday, which was just really great timing. But we also got to see some of our previous podcast guests, Maria and Andy, in person. And we hadn't seen them since well before we did the last interview. So, yeah, it was really nice to see them too. So lots of fueling up and energizing things this last week.
Definitely. Now let's introduce this week's guests.
Today we've got Ben and Laura joining us. They're the founders of Kula Health, a wellness centre that shows driven, busy professionals how to look after their health in the same way they do for their work and their family. Ben, a health coach for the last 9 years, has been rated as one of Brisbane's top 10 personal trainers, while Laura, one of Brisbane's top 3 chiropractors. Together, along with their team, they have a mission of being the go-to happy healing place in Brisbane, supporting you with the experts and community to thrive through life. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
What that intro doesn't say is that you're also romantically involved as partners.
True, and new parents. So our little boy turned 1 on Monday.
Congratulations.
Super exciting.
Kept a little person alive for a whole year.
I know.
Definitely worth celebrating. Hey, so there's kind of 2 conversations that we want to have today. The first is about health and well-being and the thing that you specialize in, but then also how the 2 of you integrate that into your own relationship and what you found that works. So maybe we might start with the general why it's important. Nathan and I have had our own, journey with health, just like everybody, but it's something that we recognize is our own responsibility in the sense that, we have to be accountable to take care of ourselves and, get to know our own individual strengths, values, beliefs, take care of our health and fitness, and make sure that we've got our own hobbies and interests and, our emotional and mental well-being. And we can't outsource that to each other.
Nobody else can do that for us.
Yeah. So we know that across our relationship, we've been together over a decade now. But there has been times where health has been an issue for one of us. Mostly it's been me. But yeah, I'd love your take on how you go about doing that and why we should be taking care of ourselves and how we can do that.
We talk about with our clients at Kula, Kula is a Sanskrit word for community. So the whole idea around our business is community health. And we talk about this concept that there's these people that just make this decision subconsciously or consciously to just survive through life, like get to the end of the day, get to the end of the week. But where do people go that don't want to just survive through life and they make a conscious decision about thriving through life? And that's why we created Kula Health, because you've probably heard this maxim before, but environment dictates performance. And we're trying to create community health, Kula Health, a place where you can insert yourself into be really well. If you want to be a junkie, go hang out with junkies. If you want to be a billionaire, go hang out with billionaires. If you want to be really well, you need to go hang out with really well people. And so we talk about Kula Health being this hub, this place where people can insert themselves and not be in an environment where people pull them down, but rather lift them up. And I think a big thing about that is then being in a relationship that someone lifts you up and doesn't pull you down.
Yeah, another thing that we find works really well is if one does say, their health suffers a little bit because they might be focusing too much in one area of their life, there's this beautiful flow where one person will step in, take over that role, support them more, and it's never just a one-sided thing. So we find that if one person's down, the other person will step up, and there's this beautiful fluidity that keeps us moving forward in that respect.
It's almost like you don't need to be told by the other person to do that. You just know. And I get
to take the lead.
That's like maybe a testament to our relationship. I would say we've probably never had a fight.
No, and it's just this beautiful dance of life, and it's like, that person needs more of this, I need more of this, and yeah.
We almost talk about we don't really fight. Like, should we be fighting? Like, we got this like unbalance at the moment where it's too much good. But I think it comes back to like we both look after ourselves really well, and when you look after yourself really well, like it allows you to look after to someone else. Like if you're sick, like who do you care about? You only care about yourself. You can't think about anyone else. And so if you get really, really well, then you actually can start thinking about a bigger picture, bigger goals, bigger dreams, and your partner.
I love that.
Yeah, and I know definitely within our relationship too, like as Sammy kind of mentioned, she has had a few health issues and digestive issues. And I guess when a partner isn't feeling at their best, they're not bringing their best to the table either. And it is really challenging to try and navigate that and to...
Yeah, I was a really crap person. Just probably quite unpleasant to be around. So I had a heap of digestive issues. I felt like I saw every specialist under the sun. Like, colonoscopy, endoscopy, like stomach specialist, bowel specialist, like all the scans, allergies, all the testing. And like, it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant experience. But also, I definitely wasn't my best self while I was trying to sort that stuff out. But Ben, you sort of touched on that idea of like, surviving versus thriving. What are some of the things that you've seen when people make that decision? Like what happens when someone does decide to change gears from just surviving through life into, do you know what, actually, I think I can do better than this. How can I thrive? What happens when they flip that?
I think what I see a lot of people is, and, I'm a coach and work with clients every single day, and I feel one of my strengths, and probably with a lot of coaches, you see in other people what they don't see in themselves. And when people come and work with me, they have this expectation, this is what I want to achieve, and maybe call it, too optimistic, but I've been doing it for a long enough time and I can see where that person's at. Like I expect them to be here. And then there's that flick where I show someone, like I teach all my clients how to juggle and handstand. Whether they're coming in for body composition, whether they're coming on to, sort out gut issues, whatever that is. And it's not about learning the actual skill of juggling or being able to handstand. Yes, it looks cool and you can maybe get a few likes on social media, but it's to show someone with juggling that, hey, you weren't able to do something and now you can. And the handstands, hey, you never thought you'd get your body upside down ever. You're 53, 55, and you've never been upside down. You've never put weight on your hands. And in the first couple of weeks, you're balancing straight up against the wall. And this little insight gives this person the opportunity to go, hey, like, if I can do this, like, what else can I do? And that's the really exciting thing. Like, let's move out of the surviving mentality and just getting better to not getting better, but to getting really, really well. That's a strategy that I use. It's really cool. And I see my clients be able to juggle in a handstand, but it's not for the juggling in a handstand. It's the tool to show them, hey, you can do something more. And the really cool thing, like we're seeing Ari at the moment on the play mat, because I do a fair bit of handstanding at home, and he's putting his hands on the ground and putting his head and trying to sort of copy me. It's really cool, like seeing how he takes all that in, and not just Ari, but I think when Laura does her work as a chiropractor and I do my work as a coach, we see each other lift those other people up, and that's really inspiring for us to do more, to do better with ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And it is really inspiring, actually, watching kids play too, like organically. They're always so energetic. They're more than happy to do handstands and cartwheels and flip upside down and all sorts. And
very functional moving, aren't they? And then like as we grow up, we seem to just grow out of that, or maybe that's just we socially conditioned to not behave like that, and it's much more socially appropriate to walk rather than skip.
Totally. And we like found ourselves as new parents, we found ourselves saying like no too often with Ari, and we called up some of the other experts, other parents who have been there and done that before, and asked them like, we find we're saying no too much, and we don't want to dampen his curiosity or his play by being these no parents. And we found that we still set our house up as just a couple with no kids, and we had to actually change the way that we set our house up, get rid of the dining room, what's it called, the little coffee table, the glass coffee table. We had to get rid of a few other things so we could create this environment for him just to explore and go wild. And now
space.
Yeah, creating like a yes space.
Yeah, that comes back to that environment dictating performance. So I'd love to know what are, obviously health I think is quite a personal thing, and what works for some people doesn't work for others, and you kind of have to find your own recipe. I think there's definitely some pillars that are similar or the same. But I'd love to know, Laura, what's your experience with, I guess, people establishing a health routine or some practices if they're starting from that flip of the switch from surviving to thriving?
I think it starts with your morning ritual. So from the moment we get up, it's like, today's going to be a great day. Jump in and have a cold shower. We love to get moving first thing. So I take Ari to the gym with me. And then the other thing that we find is a huge component, aside from movement, and is the mindset. And so it's like how you start your day, then really that flows on throughout the day. So we do a lot of like trying to be positive, and not just in a positive way, but it's like, your perception changes everything. So it's like life doesn't happen to me, but life happens for me and through me. So really trying to take that sort of, I guess, outlook on life, and then everything is a gift from there.
I think you always say to Ari in the morning, she like looks up to Ari, and unfortunately go to work really early in the morning, so Laura gets most of the morning cuddles with Ari, but on the weekends I get them sometimes, and he looks at him and goes, "We're going to have a beautiful day." And he like does his little giggle and laughs, and it's like changing the state right then and right there. I think that's really powerful. And Laura touched on like state changing, the cold showers in the morning dramatically changes your state, constricting every single cell in your body. And then when you hop out, everything starts to dilate and blood moves freely and flowing through the whole system. And I think like state changing through affirmations or state changing through cold therapy is so powerful to get you on the right foot for the day.
All right. If someone's hearing that and they're like, Ben, you want me to do what? You want me to get in a cold shower first thing? Talk us through that.
Turn the cold on and just go for it.
Functional.
Left arm, right arm, left leg, right leg, back body, front body, and then head. So,
but like, are you in there washing yourself in that cold, or are you just like shocking
just
yourself awake?
Breathing into it.
I think disclaimer, we live in Brisbane in sunny Queensland, so
it might be a little different on a cold Melbourne morning or something.
Definitely. But like for me, I guess been doing it for so long, it's literally just jump in, and I don't have time in the morning to wait for it to warm up. I'm in, and it's saving me more time. So yeah.
So something that Nathan and I have like tried on and off in our relationship is like the overlap of our health practices and our exercise practice. Like even just things like we do our gratitude practice together, and there has been periods of time in our relationship where we've been training together, and we've been doing like, an F45 challenge together, or we've been actively going to the gym together.
Or a sporting team together.
Yeah, and then there's been times where our exercise practices have been totally separate. We've been doing our own thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you've seen works for, I guess, the two of you, but also your clients?
I'll speak to that one as an example. On a Saturday morning, Ben really loves cycling, and I really love trail running and yoga. So we, again, do this fluid thing where Ben will go at 5:30 in the morning, I'll look after Ari, then we'll do a changeover at 7:15. And, Ben might sacrifice a really, really long ride so that I can go and do my trail run or whatever. We both get to do the thing we love in the morning. So, and then one morning he might go, one morning I might go, but there's always that understanding that it's not just about me, it's about both of us getting to do the things we love. And then I always say I'm a better person once I've moved in the morning. So it's like, you know, you can be a better parent, a better partner from that when you are able to do those things. You know, we do a lot together as well, but I think time apart also strengthens and fortifies and keeps that love going strong too.
It's funny, like the balance of when we're trying to work out, like if I was just reflecting then when we first started, like not even dating, we'd go to like this gymnastics class on a Tuesday, Thursday night for 2 hours and we'd go to the gym and train together.
That's where the handstands came from.
Yeah. And then we had Ari, and it was, you can't have the same expectation to do the exact same thing. You can still tick the box of what you're wanting to achieve, but you can't have the expectation it's going to be exactly the same, because, you know, you got to put a little man to sleep at 6:30. You can't be out from 7 to 9 at night doing gymnastics. And so that's when this pivoting, I guess, comes into play. It's like, all right, well, I'm into cycling at the moment, so I'm going to go really early. Then 7:15, Laura can go. You know, usually most Sundays we go for a family bike ride. We're fortunate to be down on a park here, so like, we do that as a bit of incidental exercise. And then I think like something that I admire that Laura does, I look after Ari by myself on a Wednesday afternoon, and I'm like, oh, Laura, you're amazing what you do for the other 6.5 days a week. Yeah, so what I admire is that she takes Ari to the gym most mornings with her, and there's no crash there. If he's happy, he plays in the corner and does his thing. If he's grumpy, she picks him up, uses him as squatting weights and
weights.
And like,
run up the hill with him.
it's not using the excuse. It's just finding like, all right, this is the situation I am in, and how am I going to make it the best situation possible? And I think that comes back to like, you know, it's probably not a motto that we've written down, but it's probably something that we subconsciously live by, that, hey, this is what we're in at the moment, and like, let's make it as awesome as possible.
Yeah, I really love that. You're prioritizing your health and well-being and fitness as that number one priority, that nothing's really going to get in the way. Yeah, it's the first thing you do, and nothing's going to get in the way of me actually achieving that. And I think that's been a bit of a shift for us recently, and something we've discovered is that real priority on looking after your body, because you only have one body, and if you bugger it up, you can try and fix it, but you also, you're going to constantly battle with it.
For sure. And again, going back to the environment, like exercise is just one component to the synergistical effect of being really well, right? And this Northey Street Markets, which again is fortunate, it's about 2 kilometres down the road. We can ride our bike there with Ari and do our organic grocery shopping on a Sunday morning. But we don't really have crap food in our house, like processed food. And again, I'm not a saint. If I go to my parents' house and they've got chocolates in the fridge, I'll eat the chocolates. The reason I don't eat the chocolate here is because we just don't have it. And I think it's really about setting, you know, your space up so that Ari can play and we can be yes parents, and that we can set our space up really well, and we can be healthy and live that life that we want to live and thrive. And we probably wouldn't be able to do that if we filled the house up with crap.
It sounds so obvious, doesn't it? It's like, you don't want to eat crap, don't buy the crap.
Yeah, but then it's like don't go without. And this is where I like to make delicious things healthy. So it's like make healthy treats, or, you know, just make an alternative that instead of being full of sugar and unhealthy fats, it's like, well, I'll make a healthy option that's higher in protein, lower in sugars, and got good fats in it. So
I think making those choices around health and not having those bad choices in your house is a massive game changer for us.
So are there any other like foundational tips or suggestions that you'd have for a couple who are like, oh yeah, life's got a bit comfortable and we probably need to sharpen up a little bit in this just umbrella of health and well-being? Are there another handful of things that, you know, keystone places to start?
I think a big one, and I don't mean to be like plugging our own business, but a big thing that we do is that we see chiropractic regularly. We'll get massage at least once a month, and then we go and see our acupuncturist there probably every 3 weeks. And the whole idea is that if our whole body, nervous system, muscular system is functioning at its best, then the rest of life, the rest of stuff that life throws at you, you need to deal with. Because if you're in pain, everything else becomes a struggle. And so again, it's like your health is wealth. And then when you're feeling your most vital and you're most, you know, on fire, then you start creating the magic. You start just living a beautiful life. And I think the other day someone's like, oh, how are you, Laura? I'm like, I'm good. And they're like, you're always good. And I was like, well, life's good. And, you know, I've got my health. We've got a beautiful family. You know, there's nothing to really complain about. So I think a lot of people are so used to feeling crappy and a bit down that, you know, when you do feel good, and I'm not saying I don't have bad days, but, you know, it's like majority of the time you can live a happy, healthy life if you do the healthy practices and keep your vessel feeling at its best. The universe will treat you how you treat yourself.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something that I've actually started prioritizing too. Towards the end of last year, I was finding that I was sitting at home in my office in a dodgy chair for way too long, too many hours a day. And I had just, my back had slowly declined and was just getting up every morning, always in pain. And yes, I've just started going to see a chiropractor and seeing it.
Behaving like a 60-year-old man instead of 30-something.
And it's so easy to not notice that slow decline. But yeah, the massive benefits I've had just from going to the chiro once a month and just having a bit of maintenance done and not waking up feeling like I can't get out of bed anymore. It has been amazing.
That's the one thing that, and there's no, you know, we're very grateful for the medical system, but a lot of it is just treating disease. Where it's like, where's the preventative health? Where's the, you know, brush your teeth so you don't get decay? It's like you get your spine checked so that, you know, you don't fall into these pain patterns and discomfort. So, yeah.
I think one of the things I'm going to speak maybe for you, Nath, is the barrier of, like, I reckon Nath complained about that for, like, a few months. Like, consistently complained about, like, oh, a bit stiff, a bit uncomfortable. And there was, like, real resistance to investing both time and money and energy into fixing that problem. And I think that is often what people say, you know, talk about in terms of like healthy food and cooking for yourself and shopping and, going to the gym or getting the coach or whatever the thing might be, is that there is resistance to investing in ourselves and our health. Can you talk to that at all and how we can, I guess, perhaps reframe that idea?
Yeah. I think for some people, they almost have to, it has to get so bad before they want to make a change. Yeah. But in life, everything we decide to do is determined by what we value. Linking to your values is super important. And then, like, we've both done a little bit of work with Dr. John Demartini and understanding, you know, what you value and that all your decisions in life are connected to your highest values. And just an example, the back pain that you've been experiencing, you've been sitting in your chair. Like, your highest value might not be health, and that's totally okay because everyone's values are different. But if I had a niggle or pain, one of my highest values one of my top 3 values is around health and being really well. And so I would do any and everything to try to remove that from my body so that I can function at my best. But I'm making this up, but just say one of your highest values was the work you're doing right now. What if you couldn't get onto this podcast right now because every time you bent over, your back hurts so much, or it wasn't allowing you to be laser focused in asking the questions and the conversation that you wanted to have? And it's linking that to whatever someone's highest value, going, hey, well, maybe we do need to fix the back so that you can perform better on the podcast and asking better questions and being more laser focused. And I think that's what we try to do as well with clients. It's understanding what they value. And, you know, everyone comes in on day one motivated, want to make a change. I'm ready to go. 30 days later, it's not. And why? Because maybe we haven't done the best job on day one of linking what their highest values are to what the work that we're doing right now. And it's just trying to make that simple link.
And I'll just touch on that as well. When you were talking about for a month, you were thinking and complaining about this pain. And it's like all that time you wasted and all that energy you wasted complaining about it, you could have gone in week 1, got it sorted, and not had to think about it again, and had all that energy to go and work on all the wonderful things you're creating. So again, it's like health gives you time. It doesn't take time. And plus it makes you feel really good when you go and give yourself a bit of self-love and you release all the endorphins, and then it's like this butterfly effect that keeps going on because you influence others or those you meet, and then they feel happy, and so it's win-win.
Yeah. And it's kind of that thing, if your diet's poor, you don't know when the last time you went for a run or went to the gym or did anything active that actually got you sweat up aside from walking up the stairs because the elevator was down. Like, it's then not surprising that you don't sleep well and you don't have an incredible fireworks sex life if you haven't done those building block things to get you there, I feel like people often have an expectation that you'll just get to have all those things without investing. And I think it's like the same in context of having an awesome, incredible relationship. Like that doesn't just happen. It does take work and energy, and you have to make an investment. So I think recognizing that our health is the same is really important. So what I'd love to know is, the two of you have said that you don't fight. So you're doing something in your relationship that's working really well. We'd love to know, have you got any practices or anything that help you keep a rocking, fueled up relationship?
Yeah, I'll talk to about again, you can't expect that life just stays the same, especially the dynamic of having Ari. Before Ari, we had this rhythm in our relationship. We called it Magical Mondays and Wonderful Wednesdays. And at that stage in life, we were able to have Monday morning off and Wednesday afternoon off. And we went and did things together. And it might be simply like a trail run. It might be a ride. It might be the gymnastics class. It might be a gym workout. It might be a sauna. It might be an ice bath. Again, linking back to probably health, which is something that really connected us at the start. And yeah, we love doing those sort of things. Building that rhythm into a relationship was, I think, a big fundamental to where we are today, and doing those things together. Again, like right now, we're not doing those because life's just a little bit different with managing a child and getting sleep rhythms going and babysitters and all that sort of stuff. But
however, when you do have a child, it's like every night you've got your nights together, because you just look at this thing that you've created and you're like, oh my God, you're amazing. And, you know, you're actually brought together in a different way. So we don't necessarily have a day that we call Magic Monday or Wonderful Wednesday, but we have all these wonderful moments throughout the week, because, you know, you're just by nature at home a little bit more and together more as a little unit. And then also on the note of that, you're a little bit less romantic when you've got a little one that's always trying to get in between you. And so we always make sure that we communicate that, hey, we haven't had enough time to connect deeply. Let's make more of an effort this week. And, you know, there is sort of that real call it out, rather than letting it become a problem. It's like, hey, I've noticed this, I'm feeling this, feeling a bit disconnected. Let's do something about it. And the other person's like, I was feeling the same. Let's jump on board.
Laura's really, really good at that. Like calling you out.
Calling you forth.
Yeah, calling me forth on a certain situation or whatever's going on.
But call it before it becomes an issue.
Yeah, and I was going to talk to that before. So one thing, and I think, you know, as a female, you can be a little bit more sensitive, or we can think about stuff a little bit more. And men are very much like, they see a problem, they have to solve it. And so sometimes Ben knows that I just need to express what's going on for me, and he'll just be there to listen. And I'm like, I don't need you to solve my problem. I just need to talk it out. And that's a really good thing that we find, understanding that men work one way, women work another way. That's actually from John, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus book.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, it's like, you know, if something comes up that might upset one or the other, it's like, hey, when you did this, it made me feel. And then that other person in the relationship goes, okay, like my actions have a reaction, and this is how it made my partner feel. Do I want to do that again? Yes or no? I feel like that's one of the big things as well that makes that we don't have to have an argument, because it's like you hit the nail on the head straight away, and you're able to sort of make amends, talk it out, or at least take the appropriate action.
Laura, I want to touch on something that you said there. Is it when that happens in your relationship and there's like a friction point of some sort, is that something that you have a practice of calling out in the moment, or do you have a rhythm around having those conversations?
When in the start of a relationship, when he got undressed, wherever he got undressed, whether it's in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in our bedroom, where his clothes fell, that's where they stayed. And so I'd be
familiar, Laura. I'm familiar with this.
Instead of just having a go at him, just being like, oh my God, just can you pick up? It's like, I would just make fun of it first. And I'd be like, oh, I just love when your undies are in the middle of my bedroom or in the middle of the kitchen, and then it was just making an awareness.
In the kitchen. Nude everywhere, Ben.
It's hot in Brisbane.
But, you know, it would just be like, rather than like getting angry at him, let's just make him aware of it first. And then, you know, if it was really bothering me, I'd just throw them. I wouldn't do it for him, because it's like, it's not like I'm trying to teach him anything, but it's like then he'll just expect me to keep doing it. So I might just move it out of the way, and then until it annoys him enough that then he does something about it.
How long did the undies stay on the kitchen floor? That's the most important question.
We moved in together, and it's just after probably a lot longer than when other people are there.
I broke all this stuff in one corner until it became a pile, then he'd do something about it. But no, the point is, it's like, and especially now the baby, it's like I have enough trouble picking up after myself and Ari that, one really nice thing would be that if when you come home that you could just put your stuff away so that I'm not cleaning up after all three of us and it doesn't, become a problem for me and then I don't get resentful. So in that way, Ben does a little bit more around, keeping the space tidy, and it's just helping him. So then it doesn't become a friction point.
So it can stay a yes space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes for all things.
What I touched on before was, I think, is a really major thing in our relationship, but like advice, maybe like for a lot of other couples, it's what I've noticed being like a coach, you're constantly trying to give advice to people. You like listen to them and like, all right, this is the best next step. And if there's chaos or something in our lives, the first thing that I do is like, all right, what's the next thing I need to do to like keep us moving forward? What I learned with Laura is when she's not feeling right or trying to express how she's feeling, like she doesn't want me to give her advice. She just wants me to be the sounding board. And initially it's so hard to go, she's telling me this thing, how she's feeling. And I'm like, oh, if you feel like that, well, we can just do this.
We can just fix it.
Yeah, when it's not, where it's, you just have to be that person that just sits there and just listen. And all they're actually wanting to do is just to express how they're feeling. And that was a really big, I guess, profound moment in our relationship, me understanding that. And I think that's what's accelerated our bond and our ability to communicate with each other forward.
I think that's a really interesting reframe that we can take into all of our relationships too, because I for one know that I had a dinner with a girlfriend a couple of weeks ago and I just wanted to have a whinge. I wanted to have a whinge about COVID and it was fucking me off and I had to cancel some plans. I was really just annoyed about it. And she had her coach hat on and she was like, yeah, but if you think about it from this way, and I think if we'd had the do you want to whinge about this or do you want to problem solve it frame around that conversation, we probably both would have come out of it with a better outcome. So I think that's really good advice. Just hey babe, do you want to just have a whinge about this or do you actually want to step into problem solving? Because I know that sometimes I'll have the opposite problem with Nate. And I'm like, no, I want you to help me.
And I'm just there as a sounding board, nodding away.
Yeah, the opposite problem. But I think that's it. All relationships unique. Hey, so thank you so much for joining us today. We know that obviously health is an incredibly important aspect of your lives and also your business. But to say thank you for joining us, we've made a contribution to a health program in India, and it's there to raise reproductive health awareness among young girls. So in a really supportive environment, young women get together to discuss reproductive and sexual health issues, female anatomy, monthly menstruation, possible precautions, and most importantly, their right to say no. That project is looked after by Academy of Root Development, and we were able to make that possible via our partnership with Buy One, Give One. So thank you so much for making that possible.
Oh, thank you.
Sensational.
Yeah.
No worries. So Ben and Laura, if listeners want to connect with you, want to learn a little bit more about what you do, how should they do that?
Our website, kulahealth.com.au. We share a fair bit on Instagram, Dr. Laura Elliott and Ben Murphy.
Awesome.
Amazing. Or come visit you in Queensland.
Yeah. So before we click out, is there one final tip? Aside from the cold showers, is there a snappy one to end on?
I think communicate and have fun is mine.
Yeah. And just touching on, I'm sure you guys would have talked about before the 5 love languages. A really interesting story, maybe just to finish on with Laura and I. When we met each other, we were friends for a really good 6 months. I wanted to be more than friends way sooner than that. But Laura's she's got this personality, this bubbly personality. She's so friendly with males and females. And I was sort of getting all these mixed messages where I was like, oh, she's being so friendly to me, but also so friendly to every other guy. There's even this moment we'd been hanging out a fair bit and we went up to this bar and she saw the owner there and said, oh, hey, mate, is there any good looking guys hanging around here? And in my head, I was behind her going, yeah, I'm just here, mate. I'm just here.
Yeah, over here.
And so it wasn't till we started dating and probably a couple of months in, we did the 5 love languages quiz. And upon reflection, it was like night and day, you could see what was happening. I would take Laura out for dinner or would go to, gymnastics class or do something. And I'd be constantly complimenting her, saying, you know, you're looking amazing, you smell amazing, I love your dress, you know, all these sort of things. And Laura was not giving me any of that back. And Laura, though, was spending all this time with me. She was coming to dinners, she was going to the gymnastics class, we were doing all these fun things together. And when we did the test, we realized that my number one love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And Laura's is quality time. And so sort of to link that back to like the last tip is like, yes, you can do all the work on yourself, but it's also important to know what the other person's like as well and what the other person wants and needs. And so now Laura knows that she has to send me this nice text during the day, or, you know, compliment me on the way in from a big day of work, or, you know, something great that I've done. And I know that I don't necessarily need to do that back to Laura. While it's nice, she'd prefer me to spend a lot more time with her. And that's how she obviously likes to give and receive love. And so the tip is to understand your partner maybe a little deeper. And that test was a really profound thing for us in our relationship.
I love that. So Nath is physical touch. And I'm gifts. So between the four of us, we've almost got all of them
almost covered all bases.
Nathan's rubbing your knee under the table, isn't he?
Yeah. Always.
If it wasn't quite so hot and sticky,
Yeah.
Oh, we're feeling the same here in Brisbane.
Yeah.
But I completely agree. I think it's like quite a simple framework that if you can master it, has a really profound impact on, well, it's definitely had a profound impact on our relationship.
And it's so
I love
great
that you
just
shared
even understanding your partner's love language. You can see when they might actually be showing you love in their love language. And even though you might not be receiving it, you can still see that they're trying, or that's their default love language, and they're trying to show you love. So
yeah, it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much for letting us peek behind the curtains of your relationship and your expert insights in health. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.